Gentlemen, let me make one thing clear from the very beginning. Dating has changed, but confidence still wins. Always has. Always will. Whether you've been out of the game for months, years, or even decades, the truth is this: women still respond to men who know who they are, where they're going, and who don't seek approval. Getting back into dating isn't about learning tricks, cheesy pickup lines, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about waking up the natural, grounded confidence that's already inside you, the confidence that may have been buried under self-doubt, rejection, or past relationships. Because when you step into the dating world with quiet, unshakable belief in yourself, you don't chase women, they gravitate to you. Part 1. Confidence is not something you find, it's something you decide. Most guys make the mistake of thinking they need to build confidence first before taking action. That's the wrong mindset. Confidence isn't built by waiting, it's built by doing. You become confident by stepping forward even when you feel uncertain, by talking to that woman even if your voice shakes, and by backing yourself even if you failed before. The men who win in dating are not the most attractive or the richest. They're the ones who say, "I've got this. I'm enough." Part 2. Drop the fear of rejection. It's just a filter. Let's be real, rejection stings. But it only controls you if you let it. The truth is, rejection is not personal. It's a filter. She might not be emotionally available. She might be into a different type. She might just be having a bad day. None of that means you are less of a man. A confident man doesn't let rejection define him. He lets it refine him. Every no gets you closer to the yes that matters. Every approach makes you sharper, stronger, smoother. Part 3. Women respond to how you feel about yourself. Here's what most guys miss. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be real. When you approach dating with neediness, insecurity, or fear, it leaks out in your body language, in your vibe, in the way you talk. But when you approach as a man who's centered, calm, and sure of himself, you create instant attraction. Women can feel it. It's primal. So stop trying to prove yourself. Start owning who you are. That's the shift that changes everything. Part 4. Keep moving forward. Confidence grows with momentum. This isn't about hype. It's not about faking it. It's about momentum. Talk to one woman today, then 2 tomorrow. Push a little further every time. Every step forward is a win. Even if you stumble, you'll notice women looking at you differently. You'll feel more alive. You'll start to enjoy the process. Confidence becomes your new normal because you're no longer trying, you're just being. So here's what you do now. Stop waiting. Start acting. No more sitting on the sidelines. No more making excuses. No more asking, what if I'm not ready? You are ready. You just need to move. Walk into the world with your head high. Strike up conversations. Smile. Speak your mind. Flirt. Risk rejection. Embrace the game. Because the moment you stop playing scared is the moment everything changes. Be bold. Be grounded. Be the man who goes after what he wants and gets it. Your dating life doesn't restart by accident. It restarts because you decided to make it happen. Now go out there and make it happen. Most men think they need to wait until they feel confident before stepping back into dating or starting a new relationship. That belief will keep you stuck. Here's the truth. Confidence is not something you stumble across when the stars align. It's a choice, a mindset, a posture you take, regardless of your circumstances or history. When you step into dating after a breakup, divorce, or long dry spell, the worst thing you can do is sit back and overthink every interaction, hoping one day you'll magically feel ready. That day never comes. The men who actually build real connections and spark intimacy are the ones who decide to back themselves, even when it feels uncomfortable. Let's break this down further, because this isn't just about making small talk or getting a number. This is about the deeper game. If you've been wounded before, maybe from rejection, betrayal, or years of emotional distance, you might carry the belief that vulnerability equals weakness. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. True confidence in relationships isn't about putting up walls. It's about dropping the mask. When you decide to be the man who is unapologetically honest, not needy, not desperate, but simply grounded in who he is, you instantly separate yourself from 90% the guys out there who are still trying to impress, perform, or win approval. Here's where intimacy comes into play. A confident man doesn't wait for the perfect woman to show up and give him permission to feel desirable. He brings his own value to the table from day one. He knows what he wants emotionally, sexually, and romantically, and he communicates that with clarity, not confusion. He's not afraid to take the lead in setting the tone of the relationship. If he wants depth, he asks deeper questions. If he wants connection, he creates moments of presence. If he wants passion, he knows how to express desire without guilt or hesitation. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. What most men don't realize is that women feel this on a core level. They may not even be able to articulate it, but they feel drawn to a man who walks into intimacy with self-trust rather than hesitation. They can sense when a man is choosing confidence versus waiting to earn it from them. You can't fake this. You either own your space as a man or you don't. And the way you own that space is by making the decision to show up boldly every time. It also applies to physical intimacy. Confidence isn't about being hyper-aggressive or dominant, unless that's what's mutually desired. It's about attunement, knowing how to read her, respond to her, and guide the energy between you. It's about showing up fully present in the moment rather than being stuck in your own head. A confident man doesn't need validation from sex. He brings validation into the bedroom. He leads with grounded desire, not anxious performance. Most men fear rejection because they believe it says something about their worth. That fear doesn't just kill your confidence in dating, it shuts down your ability to lead in intimacy and connect in relationships. But here's the shift. Rejection is not a personal attack. It's not a verdict on who you are as a man. It's simply feedback, a filter. And when you understand that, your whole mindset around connection and intimacy changes. Think about this. How many times have you hesitated to express how you really feel because you were afraid she might not respond the way you wanted? How often have you held back from initiating something more meaningful, more sensual, or more emotionally raw just in case it didn't land? That hesitation doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. And the truth is, women can feel when a man is operating from fear rather than grounded strength. In the context of a relationship, rejection doesn't always come in the obvious forms. It's not just about being told no. It can show up as disinterest, emotional unavailability, or even a lack of reciprocation during intimacy. If you take those moments as a blow to your ego, you'll shrink. You'll second guess yourself. You'll start waiting for signals, for green lights, for external validation instead of leading. But when you shift into the mindset that rejection is simply part of the process, that it's a normal, useful part of dating and emotional connection, you stop flinching and start moving. This applies directly to intimacy. A man who is afraid of rejection will be hesitant to initiate. He'll be tentative when he touches her, overthinking whether she's into it. He'll avoid saying what he actually wants in the bedroom for fear of being judged. That insecurity kills sexual tension. On the other hand, a man who sees rejection as neutral, as just a form of expression, becomes unshakable. If she pulls away or says no, he doesn't collapse, he doesn't spiral, he adjusts, he stays connected to his center, listens, and leads again when the moment is right. There's something deeply magnetic about a man who can handle no without losing his emotional balance. It tells her that he's not fragile, that he's not needy, that he's not just in it for validation. And paradoxically, this makes her trust him more. Trust is the foundation of emotional and physical intimacy. A woman wants to open up to a man who can hold space, not just for her pleasure, but for her boundaries, her emotions, her uncertainty. So every time you get rejected, whether it's in conversation, in the bedroom, or in the emotional flow of a relationship, you're being given an opportunity to become stronger, clearer, more grounded. You learn to stop personalizing everything and start responding as a man who is secure in himself. That kind of man becomes unforgettable because he brings presence instead of pressure, clarity instead of confusion, and calm leadership instead of emotional reactivity. You can say all the right things and still have a woman lose interest in seconds if your energy is off. You can compliment her, flirt, make her laugh, and still watch the attraction fade if your presence isn't aligned with confidence, calm, and masculine clarity. That's because women don't respond to words alone. They respond what's beneath the words. They respond to how you feel about yourself. Your energy is louder than your mouth. A man who feels insecure will speak differently. He'll make the same comment another man might make, but it will land flat. Why? Because his tone, his posture, his eye contact, and his subtle body language will all be seeking validation rather than expressing grounded intention. A woman can feel that instantly, even if she can't explain it. It's not always logical, it's visceral, instinctive. She reads your energy before she even hears your voice. In a relationship, this becomes even more important. A man might say, "I love you," but if he's doing it to keep her from leaving, to calm his own anxiety, or to avoid tension, the energy behind those words becomes emotionally manipulative, even if unintentionally. On the flip side, a man who says nothing overly romantic but carries himself with strength, emotional stability, and calm presence will be felt as more attractive, more dependable, more masculine, because again, she's responding to what's behind the surface. This dynamic intensifies in intimacy. In bed, your words matter far less than your awareness. You could whisper the sexiest line imaginable, but if you're in your head, if your energy is off, if you're hesitating or overperforming, she'll feel a disconnect. Physical intimacy is about energy exchange. It's not just about movement or technique. It's about what you're transmitting through your touch, your breath, your eye contact, your rhythm. When a man owns his energy, he creates a safe and powerful space for deeper connection. He doesn't rush. He doesn't overthink. He doesn't second guess. He reads the moment. He guides with confidence. He listens with his whole body. That's the kind of man women crave, not because he's smooth or practiced, but because he's present. Even outside the bedroom, women constantly pick up on your energy in small moments. The way you walk into a room, the way you greet her, how you handle tension, how you hold eye contact during conflict. If you carry tension, neediness, or emotional volatility under the surface, she feels it. But if you walk in with self-trust, not ego, but a quiet, grounded sense of identity, she relaxes. She becomes more open, more playful, more expressive. Attraction is not something you chase with words. It's something you amplify by mastering your internal state. When you feel aligned, calm, confident, without forcing anything, the connection becomes natural. The chemistry unfolds on its own, because what you're really offering is not just attention but a feeling she wants to be around. Most men approach dating and relationships like they're trying to pass a test, constantly looking for signs that they're doing it right, hoping for approval, trying to avoid saying the wrong thing. But here's the truth, most men never realize the moment you start seeking approval, you've already lost your power. Women don't fall for men who try to impress them. They fall for men who are already impressed with themselves, not in a cocky, over-the-top way, but in a grounded, self-assured way that says, "I don't need you to validate me. I know who I am." When you operate from a place of needing her to like you, to choose you, or to keep desiring you, she can feel that pressure. It's subtle, but it's real. It shows up in the way you text too quickly, overanalyze her responses, or walk on eggshells in conflict. It shows up in the way you touch her without owning it, or hold back on expressing your real needs, because you're afraid she might leave or think less of you. That approval-seeking energy doesn't make her feel more connected, it makes her feel more distant. In a healthy relationship, especially in long-term intimacy, this is a slow but dangerous erosion. A man who gives up his own standards, boundaries, or desires just to keep the peace or avoid rejection becomes less attractive over time. He might think he's being a good guy, but what he's really doing is signaling that her approval means more to him than his own truth. And when that happens, she can't fully trust him to lead. She can't feel that strong masculine core that allows her to fully relax into the relationship and feel safe. In intimacy, this shows up even more clearly. If you're constantly trying to perform for her approval in the bedroom, whether that means trying to impress her, match a fantasy, or avoid disappointing her, you're not present, you're performing. And when you perform instead of connect, she can feel it. It creates a disconnect that you can't fix with technique. Real sexual leadership doesn't come from trying to be what you think she wants. It comes from owning your desire without shame, expressing it clearly, and reading her with attunement, not anxiety. This also means being okay with saying no, with leading the relationship where you want it to go, with walking away when it's not aligned, not out of bitterness but from strength. Women respect men who won't compromise their integrity just to keep a connection. They crave men who can say, "This is who I am, this is what I want, and I don't need permission to be that." Approval seeking kills polarity. It turns you into a follower, and a follower can't create attraction, lead intimacy, or hold space for emotional depth. When you drop the need for approval, you free yourself to show up with presence, truth, and power. The very qualities that build lasting desire and real emotional connection. Most men sit on the sidelines of dating and relationships because they think they need to be fully ready before they act. They wait for the perfect moment, a perfect confidence, the perfect woman, and in that waiting, they lose momentum. The truth is, nothing changes until you move. No shift in attraction, no growth in intimacy, no deepening of connection happens by standing still. Progress in your dating life, in your relationships, and in your intimate power starts with one simple idea: take small, consistent steps and never stop. Too many men make the mistake of thinking they need to make a huge leap to get results. They think they need to suddenly become ultra confident, sexually experienced, emotionally bulletproof. That mindset creates pressure, and pressure leads to paralysis. But when you break it down into small, daily actions, one honest conversation, one moment of eye contact, one risk of vulnerability, everything becomes possible, because confidence is built in motion, not in theory. In a relationship, this principle becomes even more important. Real emotional intimacy doesn't just appear one day. It's cultivated over time through consistent presence, small acts of leadership, and moments of raw, unfiltered honesty. It's not about being perfectly expressive all the time. It's about showing up again and again, even when it's awkward, even when it's uncomfortable, when you hold space for tension, when you tell the truth even if it might shake things up, when you express desire without hesitation. That's what builds depth. Not grand gestures, not scripts, just consistent, authentic action. This directly applies to intimacy. A lot of men want to be better lovers, better partners, more dominant, more confident in the bedroom, but they never practice the small things that get them there. They wait for a big sexual breakthrough, when what actually works is taking one step further into presence each time, being a little bolder, holding her gaze a little longer, touching her with more intention, saying what you want with a little more certainty, asking her what she needs with zero fear. These are the moments that create electricity, that build anticipation, that strengthen connection. It's not about being perfect, it's about momentum. The man who improves in dating and intimacy isn't the man who knows everything. He's the one who keeps moving forward no matter how small the step. He talks to the woman even if he's nervous. He admits his desires even if his voice shakes. He opens up emotionally even if his hands tremble. That courage, multiplied by repetition, turns into natural confidence. And that kind of confidence isn't temporary, it becomes who you are. Women respond deeply to this. They don't want a man who's pretending to have it all figured out. They want a man who's in the process, who's alive, growing, and unapologetically real. A man who keeps choosing to show up, to lead, to express, to connect, one moment at a time. Most men wait. They wait for the perfect sign, the perfect response, the perfect level of certainty. They wait until they feel no fear, no tension, no risk. But the truth is, the men who create magnetic relationships, the men who spark deep intimacy and lasting desire, are not the ones who wait. They're the ones who decide. They decide to act, to speak, to lead, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. They don't wait for permission to move, they choose to move. And that single choice separates the confident man from the man who keeps wondering why nothing's changing. When you decide to be the man who acts, who leads, who speaks, who takes a risk, you step into a position of grounded masculine energy. This doesn't mean being reckless or aggressive. It means you're in motion. You're not frozen by fear, overthinking, or waiting for someone else to validate your next move. And in relationships, that changes everything, because leadership is deeply attractive. Women don't want a man who needs direction. They want a man who brings direction. Not control, but clarity. Not force, but presence. This applies emotionally. It means you're the one who breaks the silence after a tough moment instead of pretending everything's fine. It means you're the one who names the tension, who says, let's talk, who steps toward connection instead of retreating. That emotional leadership doesn't make you weaker, it makes you trustworthy. It shows her you're not afraid of discomfort and that you're capable of holding space for her emotions without losing yourself. That makes her feel safe. And safety leads to depth, both emotionally and sexually. It also applies to physical intimacy. A man who acts, who leads in the bedroom without waiting to be told what's okay, is a man who creates sexual polarity. He reads her cues, he moves with intention, he touches with confidence. He doesn't hesitate or wait for constant reassurance. He doesn't beg for signs. He brings a clear, grounded presence that says, I know what I want. I'm paying attention. I'm here. That kind of energy creates intense, lasting desire because it's rare. Women aren't looking for a perfect man. They're looking for a man who moves, a man who doesn't crumble when things feel uncertain, a man who owns his decisions. When you take the lead, not from ego, but from embodied clarity, you build trust. You become the one she looks to when things feel chaotic. You become the one she wants to surrender to, open up to, follow into deeper layers of emotional and physical intimacy. Deciding to be the man who acts also means you stop outsourcing your confidence. You're not relying on her reactions, her compliments, her interest to determine your value. You're moving from your own internal compass. That's power. That's rare. And that's what creates attraction that lasts beyond the surface, beyond the first date, beyond the first kiss. It's what keeps the fire alive in long-term love and in the bedroom.